Morning. I'm back out here in the garage this morning. I've got some boxes. Just a little update on what's going on. I went down to Amish country weekend, last weekend, Friday I think, and bought some boxes, about 100 Cypress boxes. We've been putting them together. Dad come over yesterday and helped me put these together. We got 30 done, which is good for us. And then we've got some outside as well. And I still got plenty to go. I got all kind of frames that I got. And I got my foundation to go in. I'm still trying to decide. I'm a little bit worried about putting the frames together now and putting the foundation in them, because I'm worried about them getting damaged before I need them. So I'm probably gonna get some of them ready, but not all of them. And then I've got some boxes outside. I got a few we got together out there. But it's quite the job putting these boxes together to do them right, because they got to be glued. They got a little bit of a extra wood. It's got to be trimmed off. But for the most part, I've been pretty impressed with them. Joints ain't quite as tight as I would make them, but I can kind of understand why he left them loose, because they're going to move a little bit. He said to go ahead and get them together as soon as you can, because the wood it feels dry, but it's not kiln dry. He said if you kiln dried it, it moves a lot more, but it's not kiln dried, and need to go ahead and get them together so it kind of holds it. They want to shrink and warp and move around a little bit, as most wood does when it finishes drying. So I'm trying to go ahead and get these together as quick as I can, and then we'll figure out about the frames and the foundation afterward. But I'll probably do a certain percentage with frames and the acorn plastic foundation, and then I'll leave some for later. I just don't want to put it in there and have it damaged some way when I know it's fine the way it sits. The frames are not going to move around, and the foundation's fine in the boxes, but I don't want to wait till the last minute when I need them either. So still trying to decide on that. I want to show you a few other things that's going on too. I'm going to get in the hives a little bit later today. It finally cooled off. It's been so hot that it was hard to do anything. So I want to try to get in the hives today and start getting, I'm going to do a winter checklist of things that needs to be done in the hive, and start going through some hives and do that. I'll show you some of that in this video too. But a few other things I've got going on I want to show you. Got a indoor outdoor thermometer that we use usually for the outdoor temperature, and it's got a remote I guess measuring device that you put outside, but I've taken that and put it inside. I got me a tote. My buckets of honey have been crystallizing inside the bucket, and it keeps getting thicker and thicker, and I need a way to be able to set that bucket and keep it at about 92 degrees, 92, 93 degrees. So I've been experimenting with how to do that. I put the thermometer in the bottom of the tote with a 60-watt bulb in the tote, and it was 78 in the bottom of the tote where I had it. I set the thermometer up in the top, and it was 98. So my wife had a really small fan, and I put that in there with that bulb to circulate the heat, and so far it's maintaining 92, which would be perfect if it'll stay at that. But I've tried, this is like my 5th attempt. I put the fan in there thinking the heat from the motor would be enough. I've laid blankets on top of my plastic totes to insulate it. I put a lot of the bulbs nowadays are LEDs and fluorescent and just don't generate a lot of heat, so I had to find an older bulb. But so far it's maintaining 92. So we'll see how it goes. See if it keeps that up or not with that fan. If it does, that'll be perfect, and I'll have that problem whipped. But leave that honey. It won't hurt the honey at all to stay at that. No worse than just being outside on a hot day. So it won't hurt the honey at all. And over the course of a few days, it'll re-liquefy that honey and take care of my crystallizing in the bucket problem. I've got a bucket heater that I use, but I'm not completely satisfied with my bucket heater. It heats up where the heater is, and you got to keep stirring it and keep sticking a stir stick down in the bucket, and I'm worried it's getting too hot where the ring is. It'll do it, but I would rather have, I used to have an old freezer with some light bulbs in it and a thermometer attached to it where it would basically disconnect the heat source when the temperature range got to a certain temperature. And you can still do that. I've seen them online. I think they're about 30 bucks. And I might be going to that, but for now I'm trying to use what I got laying around. I bought the tote, but I had the fan and the receptacle for the light bulb, and not too worried about it overheating now, so we'll see how it works. I want to show you a little bit on these boxes. A little bit of extra wood here that'll hold it up if it gets bent the wrong way. So a lot of people probably wouldn't do it, but I've been trimming it off so that they go together a little better. We've been working with the square. We've been putting a framing square on the boxes because some of them have been, we noticed we use clamps to hold it together until we start getting screws in it. But we was noticing yesterday some of the boxes wasn't going together perfectly square. So we started evening up our clamps so it didn't pull it at an angle, trimming off these loose edges, and it helped a lot. So we're kind of squaring them up now as we go. It's funny how you get to doing this stuff. You do enough of it, you're getting a lot better at it. All of these have to be drilled. They didn't come drilled, so you got to drill the pilot holes for the screws. And I've been using these deck screws, which I paid about, it was $30 a box, but I get a military discount. But I don't have to worry about them rusting. Pete said that these boxes are best left unpainted so that they can breathe. If you paint them, and they eventually chip, the moisture gets behind the paint, and then the box can't dry out, and it will rot the wood. But as long as they can dry out, this Cypress is not supposed to rot. So I'm taking him at his word. But with that, I've always used just regular coated nails, which will rust, except they're coated with paint. So since these aren't going to be painted, I'm paying a little more for the deck screws and using those. And I think that with the Type Bond 3 wood glue, I think will make for it's waterproof, lasts good outside. I've been using it for a long time, so I'm pretty confident that that'll work good. And I think mainly the glue holds it, but these screws, with the glue and the screws, there'll be some really strong boxes. You want to countersink it just enough. If you countersink it too much, you got to really drive the screw down to pull it up tight. So you want to sink it just enough where the screw head is flush. I don't want the screw head sticking out. The box is rubbing together. I'm also going to make some migratory covers to where I can stack these boxes a lot closer together, which is really important when you get a lot more hives. So I'm going to go ahead and put the rest of these pilot holes, and then we'll take it from there. All right, I got all my pilot holes drilled. You can kind of see there the depth. It's got the countersink in it. This tab here will get a nail because it's thinner than the other tabs. So we'll get a little nail, and it's a little finish nail for putting up trim that also doesn't rust. They're just white, so won't stand out too much. These boxes, the quality of the wood I've been really impressed with. There's hardly any knots in the surface of the wood at all. It's really clear cypress wood. Every now and then you're gonna have some damage or a little bit just the way wood is. I've always seen some where it looked like it had something, maybe a piece of metal or something in the wood, and a few holes here and there, but for the most part, the quality of the wood is really high. And I really like the way the handles feel too. So a few little pluses and minuses. For the most part, I'm pretty happy with the boxes that I got. Putting these together, I set one of the ends aside. I set the bottom piece upside down with the handle facing up. These handles have got to face, you can put them together like that, and you have to really be careful not to put the handle on the inside. But try to always watch where the handles are when I start getting ready to assemble these. I just put a little something here to hold it up. Get you up here. Same way on this piece, make sure your handle's going in the same direction as on the outside, not the inside. And then just a little something to hold them. See how much higher I can get you all up. All right, once you get that, I can, the Type Bond 3 wood glue is what I like. And I apply a generous portion into all the joints. And I'll brush these in. These finger joints make these boxes super strong. They won't flex hardly at all, and they'll last for a really long time because of these finger joints. And this glue is always best brushed in. I got these at Lowe's. I didn't clean this one out from yesterday, but you just let the wood glue dry on it, and then you pick all the dry glue off of it. It works really good for spreading your glue out, but you want that glue on all your surfaces. On all sides. Worked with wood on other stuff, and I've through the years have broken things or dropped stuff on wood projects or had stuff to get broke that was wood glue, and the wood will break before the glue does. Also done some turning. You can glue woods together and then put it on the lathe, and that glued wood, just the glue is the only thing holding it, will stay together. You can turn it and it'll go, you can use different colors of wood. Walnut's really dark, maple's really light, but you can glue all that together and make a really cool turned bow or whatever you want out of it, and it stays. The wood glue just is super, super strong. I've seen enough of it to, I must not believe it too much because I don't do it, but I believe if you clamp these together and didn't even use screws, I believe that wood glue would hold, and you wouldn't have to worry about it. It's just that strong. If I get the glue all down in there, it's in all the surfaces. You also want it on this surface here, because this surface here is going to touch this surface in here. So any surface that's going to touch, you want that wood glue on. And then I lay this and my inboard in there. And we just use a wood clamp. This is where you start getting it squared up, but I want it to hold together before I get my first screws in there. I want this joint, it's hard for you to see, but this joint here I want tight. That way when I put my screw in there, I also want that clamp level. And when I put these first screws in there, it holds, that joint's already tight from the wood clamp. We started turning one clamp one way and one clamp the other. But this space in here, you want the same all the way across. If you get it a little lopsided one way or the other, it will cause your box to be more lopsided. change out from pilot hole bit. Change my Phillips bit. I've got a hex bit that these screws take, and you don't have to put any pressure down. A Phillips bit, you have to put a lot of pressure down on it. Lay my screws up here, what I think I need. And then I start putting the screws in. And you'll see it, hopefully see it on that end. I screw it down till the wood starts, or till the glue starts squeezing out. And you know it's perfectly tight against that side, and that glue is going to hold that joint. I don't know if you can see that or not, or how well that shows up. Let's see when it gets over here. Yeah, they're squeezing the glue out. I think you can see that. There. And then I just wipe, just so I don't have glue running down the box. I just wipe the glue off. And then up here at the top, because it's so thin, I don't want to split it out. Just put one of these little nails, and I put it at an angle at both ends. Nails will hold better at an angle than they do straight in. So that gives you a surface of wood that won't rot, and then the screws won't rust, and that nail won't rust. So it should last. These boxes will be around long after I'm gone. Alright, do the other end. I just flip it around. I just use this in here to hold the space. Set it to the side. Glue, put your glue in your joint. Brush it in real good. And be the same process as the other end. Once I get these two ends done, then I'll turn it over sideways and do these sides. But before I do that, I'll check it with a framing square. Make sure it's good and square. If it's not, it's a lot easier to adjust it then. And while the glue's still wet and you don't have all the screws in, than it is to try to come back. Once you get all the screws in, this glue sets up. This box is going to be where it's going to be. If it's out of square, you're not going to get it to be square. I guess you could put a press on it or something. It's not impossible, but it'd be very difficult to square it up once everything's together. So I'll put this one on, square it up, and then put the screws in the sides, and we'll have a finished box. All right, there's our finished box. Got our finger grooved corners, got screws in them, got glue in it. Got our handles in the right spot. Got both the rabbets for the frame rest at the top. Any old frame should fit in there. So our frames fit good. Makes for a really nice finished box that doesn't have to be painted. I spent some maybe extra time putting it together, but saving a lot of time painting the box. It'll weather. He had several boxes down there that were made out of Cypress, and it weathers to a real dark gray. It's not the prettiest thing in the world, but there's no maintenance to it, so I think these will hold up for a long time. Really good, solid, clear wood. So I'm really happy with them. Got a bunch to go though. This is my setup for my heater box. I'm trying to build to liquefy these 5-gallon buckets. Just got a Craftsman tote that's big enough for a bucket. Inside I got my bucket. This is my thermometer, I guess. that's sending a temperature to my unit in the garage. Got my light bulb protected from the heat. The back's not hot at all, and then I got a little fan in there just to circulate the heat so it's not hot at the top and cool at the bottom. So it was keeping it 92. I'm sure I let the heat out now, but hopefully it'll heat back up and maintain 90 to 92 degrees, and I can liquefy these buckets a lot easier. Just leave them in here and let her run. We'll see how it works. I'll let you know.